stuffed animals than I am with candles, and that's saying something. I don't think anyone will be shocked to find out that I have ADHD, and I've had ADHD, of course, my entire life, but I wasn't actually diagnosed with it until like less than a year ago when I went to get my dyslexia and dyscalculia retested so that I could provide a comprehensive report to my college and they could figure out what accommodations are going to be appropriate for me as a student. This means that I've gone literally my entire life with ADHD without any kind of stimulant medication. And when I was diagnosed, I was told that stimulant medication would possibly be a good idea, and I opted not to visit a psychiatrist. Now, there are two things I want to address in that. One, my ADHD not being caught. It's often not caught in women because it presents differently in women. Women present what's called predominantly inattentive type ADHD, formerly known as attention deficit disorder. That's a little bit harder to catch because most of it's going on in your head. Now, I don't have inattentive type. I have combined presentation, which means that I present not predominantly inattentive or hyperactive impulsive symptoms. They're pretty well combined and pretty well mixed up into each other. Honestly, what helped me evade it getting caught and diagnosis was simply the fact that I function very well. It's not impairing my functioning a terrible amount, and it does impair my functioning a lot. ADHD makes it hard to focus often, and I can't sit down for long periods of time. I'm very, very restless. I always need to be moving. But I coped so well with it that nobody would have known I had it until I went and saw this diagnostician, and she was like, something's off. And she not only did a survey, but she did something called the QB test, where she put this like ball on my forehead, and I believe what I had to do is there was a clicker, and there would be shapes that showed up on the screen. It would be a square, a circle, and a triangle, I believe. And they could be, I think it was blue, green, or red. And if I saw two shapes of the same color, I was supposed to click the thing. What this report showed was that I scored in like the 90 percentiles for both inattentiveness and impulsivity, also in like the active movement I was doing during the whole thing. I remember at one point being told to try to keep my head still, and I couldn't keep my head still. I didn't even really plan to talk about the QB test, I just thought it was interesting. The second thing I want to talk about with that is my option not to take stimulant medication. I want to say that I am not against taking stimulant medication. If you take stimulant medication for ADHD, more power to you, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think it should be optional for those who want to take it. And this isn't to say that I won't need it one day. My ADHD and my life circumstances can change. However, as of right now, I'm just not comfortable taking stimulant medication. I'm not comfortable taking those kinds of pills. I did used to take psychiatric medication. I used to take antidepressants, anti-anxieties. I took a sleeping pill for a very long time. And now the only thing that I currently have still is an emergency anti-anxiety. It's a sedative. I believe it's hydroxyzine. And I don't even really take that. Like, I haven't gotten it refilled in years. I don't even see a psychiatrist anymore. I just see a therapist. Like, I just don't require the medication anymore. Doesn't mean I won't need it at some point, but I haven't needed it thus far because of the coping skills I developed. Now let's just talk a little bit about my ADHD and its presentation. I want to talk about this because ADHD presents itself differently in every single person, and therefore the coping skills are going to be different for every single person. So let's talk a little bit about the things that I predominantly show in the diagnostic criteria used to diagnose my ADHD. Difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activities. I have a very, very hard time continuing to pay attention when I'm doing something like reading a textbook. When I'm editing these videos, it often takes me days upon days upon days. I can't sit down and do it all at once. Often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties in the workplace. Ask either of the people that live with me, my brother or my mother. I always forget to do my chores. My homework and my schoolwork, that's a lot less common. If I didn't have the coping skills I have, let's just say they wouldn't get done either. Difficulty organizing tasks and activities. Yeah, I have a really hard time just organizing things unless they're like written out in front of me. I have a very, very specific organizational system, and if that gets thrown off, then I'm screwed. I can't do anything. Avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort. I love writing. I dread writing essays. When I'm doing it, it's fine. I hate doing research. I dread revising and editing essays. And if I've been doing something for long enough, I will just give up on it and stop and like half-ass the back part of it. Often loses things necessary for tasks or activities. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have lost pencils, misplaced my phone, misplaced jackets, scripts for theater. I have to be very, very meticulous about where things go because I lose things very easily. My phone is like glued to my side because I lose it so often. Often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. For older adolescents and adults, this typically includes unrelated thoughts, and that is the bulk of the reason that I don't get shit done. Like, I'll be sitting there reading my research methods textbook, but really my thoughts are absolutely consumed with Scooby-Doo and Sailor Moon, and not just, those things and being like, oh, I wish I was watching them. No, thinking about the plot points, and the certain plot points that don't always make sense. And do I remember that one Scooby-Doo movie that had like a lake monster, and there was like some kind of blue crystal that I think was in it? Oh, it's The Legend of the Lake Monster. Oh, it's on Boomerang. Oh my gosh, I have a Boomerang Plus subscription now, which I really love, and I really, really need to go look into that. Often forgetful in daily activities. This just ties into the fact that if I didn't have an alarm system, would completely forget when my classes are. It's a problem. Fidgets or taps hands or feet or squirms in seat. I've always done that. Done that my entire life. I'm very fidgety. I'm very animated. If I'm not animated, something is very wrong. But even when I'm upset, I'm at least shaking my leg. I'm pretty fidgety. So this one is a little bit different. This one is written for a child. There is an adult equivalent. Often runs about or climbs in situations where it is inappropriate. In older adolescents and adults, it's typically limited to feeling very restless. I'm a very, very restless person. Ask anyone who knows me, ask my family, ask my friends. I'm always moving. I absolutely hate to just be sitting unless I'm like playing video games, but even then I normally move positions a couple of times, and usually I get tired of it and I have to get up after a few minutes because I want to go get a snack from the kitchen. But then I walk into the kitchen and I'm like, I don't really want a snack. Okay, I'll just get some water. But wait, I have water in my bedroom, but I forgot the water, so I'm just gonna go back to my bedroom and I don't feel like it anymore. I'll sit back down and play more video games. Often on the go, acting as if driven by a motor. This goes to feeling restless all the time. I have a very hard time doing nothing in a day. I literally can't just like lay in bed all day unless I'm sick. Like, I have to be physically ill in order to be able to spend a day literally laying in my bed. Often talks excessively. If I was going to get in trouble for something in school, especially in elementary school, it was going to be talking in class, talking to my friends. And I was such a sweet kid, and I was such a teacher's pet that even though I talked a lot in class, I never really got in trouble for it. Often blurts out an answer before a question has been completed. I do that. This goes in with having difficulty waiting my turn and interrupts or intrudes on others. Now, I don't do any of these things with like the intent to take things over or the intent to like steal the spotlight from people. I genuinely don't notice I'm doing it until after I've done it. And sometimes even after I've done it, I don't notice it. I think it bothers people. I know it bothers people. I think it really bothers my boyfriend more than he like lets me know sometimes, because he will say, as I was saying, when I interrupt him, I hate when people interrupt me. So I feel really, really bad for doing it, and I really, really don't notice I'm doing it. We're working on that. But that is just how my ADHD presents. I feel like this is pretty common for people, the way it's presenting in me. I remember I told my friend that I had ADHD, and he was like, oh, I could have told you that. But I never would have known, and neither would my family have. They just thought this was my personality, and these were just character flaws. So now we know how my ADHD presents, and we know that I don't take medication solely because I don't feel comfortable taking stimulants, and I haven't needed it thus far. Let's talk about my specific coping skills. How do I handle these less than convenient symptoms? The first thing I do is alarms. Alarms. I have alarms set in my phone for when my classes are. They usually are 30 minutes and then 15 minutes before. Appointments, also 30 and 15 minutes before. On my computer, I have an alarm for every hour. An alarm goes off at noon, 1, 2, 3. Starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, my alarms are going off. And that's so that I know how long I've been doing something, or so I remember what time it is, because I can lose hours in the day. I also have alarms that remind me to do things like take vitamins, go to bed at night, eat lunch, breakfast, dinner, because I'll forget to do those things. It's kind of like the reminders app on your phone, except the alarms like blaze through everything. I just got a notification. And they're really loud and really obnoxious, so I 100% know what I'm doing and like what I need to be getting ready for. Next up, this one might be a placebo, but peppermint essential oil, candles, and tea whenever I'm sitting down working. When I was in elementary school, they told us that peppermint helped with focus, and ever since then, I have used it and it has helped me focus. I can't say that it always works, but generally I use it and I feel a difference. I feel an effect. It's not going to make it so I can study for hours on end. I'll never be a person that can sit there and study for hours on end. I have to be up and moving, but it definitely aids in the struggle with my focus. Calendars. I have the calendar on my phone and I have a wall calendar that I got from my church. The wall calendar and the calendar on my phone both have events for the month so that I remember when they are, because I generally don't forget the date, because like I look at my phone and I see that it's Monday, February 13th right now. So if I have something going on, I also have reminders for events that happen. I can set them for whenever I want. I usually set them the day before, an hour before, and 30 minutes before. But the day before when I see them, I usually will set an alarm that's like leave now for said event, tying back to how useful those alarms are, because I will genuinely forget that events exist if they're not consistent. So I need this calendar. This is probably one of the biggest ones that I use, to-do list. I have a little mini notebook where I put all the things I'll need to do in a week. And then I have one on my laptop. I think it's called Microsoft To-Dos. It came with my laptop. It's for daily things I need to get done. Like on mine today, it was like clean my room, read part of chapter 7, answer emails, things like that. Like whatever I need to get done in the day, and I keep that tab open every single day so that I remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Next up is getting up intermittently. You know that restlessness that I can't like sit still for a very long period of time, and I definitely can't sit still and like read and focus for a very long period of time. Yeah, about every 30 minutes to an hour, I get up and I walk around and I move. Like I just cannot, I could never have a traditional desk job. I genuinely couldn't. It would not work. I can't stay seated. I had a really hard time staying seated when I was in high school too. I vividly remember in school, sometimes I would ask to go to the bathroom just so I could get up and move. And it wasn't like I was doing it to get out of class. It would be usually because I was getting really, really restless and I just needed to get up and move whenever we were doing independent work. Or like, I'll try to be productive with it. Like when I do my laundry, I have to stand and I have to be moving. So I will put on a podcast or something and I'll get up and I'll be doing my laundry. I'll clean up. Like I've been spending a lot of today cleaning up because I felt so restless. Like I haven't sat down once to actually do my homework. I have just made a list of what I need to get done this week and cleaned up my room and then sat down and made this video. Next up, this is more of a personal thing, but I make my notes really, really pretty and really, really creative. I decorate all of my notes. In one of my videos, I don't remember which one in all honesty, I showed like the pretty notes that I have. It's gonna be one to do with school, but it helps me focus on what I'm doing. It helps me retain more of the information. Since I'm a very artistic person, I'm very artistically inclined. I like making things look nice. I like making them look pretty. So it's first of all more appealing to go back and study and look at, but second of all, it's more fun to make and it makes the whole note-taking process less boring. This one is also kind of personal. Ambiance music and ambiance sounds. Calmed by Nature is one of my favorite YouTube channels. For whatever reason, cafe ambiance really helps me focus. And sometimes I'll go to an actual cafe. I have a cafe that's literally like 5 minutes from my house that sometimes I'll just go, I'll get like a latte and I'll just sit there and I'll read a book or I'll do some homework or I bring my headphones and I edit a video. Especially if I'm feeling restless, like I just need to get out of the house. But yeah, ambiance is a big helper in my focus. Next up, I want to talk about coffee and caffeine. Now, I don't know all the info on this, but I do remember being told that since caffeine is a stimulant, it works different in the brains of people who have ADHD. I can't focus without coffee, not just because of the caffeine addiction and caffeine withdrawals. I only drink maybe 12 ounces of caffeine a day. I try not to drink a whole lot of it. I used to drink a ton of coffee. Not a healthy thing. Do not recommend it. But there has been information coming out about how it works differently in the brains of people who have ADHD because stimulants work differently in the brains of people who have ADHD. Caffeine is about the closest thing I probably will ever come to feeling comfortable taking stimulant medication. Lastly, giving myself grace. Sometimes I just can't be productive. Sometimes the intrusive thoughts and the restlessness are just so overwhelming. I have had days where I have had like sat there and I've been like, I've got to read this textbook chapter. I need to get it read. And I just could not clear my mind for long enough to actually retain the information I was reading. which really sucks because I'm also dyslexic. A rule of thumb I try to follow is if it doesn't need to get done today, then it can wait until tomorrow and there's really no need to stress over it. Like if I want to read chapter 7 of the textbook, which I actually have to read this week, and I want it done by Wednesday, but the quiz associated with it isn't due until Sunday, if I don't get it done on Wednesday, is the world going to end? No, because I still have, 4 days after that. Giving myself grace has probably been the thing that's been the hardest to do, but it really does help me deal with the fact that my attention just isn't up to the standard that most people's is. But that's okay because I have these coping skills and I have ways to deal with it and I've been successful regardless. Sometimes I just need to give myself a little extra grace. Everybody has trouble focusing every once in a while and everyone deserves grace. I hope this was interesting in some form or informational for somebody out there. Again, nothing against taking stimulant medication. If you take stimulant medication, more power to you. That's great. That's wonderful. I choose not to. This isn't me even saying I'm never going to take stimulant medication. This is simply me saying that I don't take it now, and this is how I cope with having ADHD. Despite that, hope you enjoyed this. Stay smart, work hard, be safe. Bye.